Hi everyone, in this video we'll be covering back to basics. First question is, what is the best way to protect from STIs?
Okay, there's three main ways of protecting against STIs. The first of all is to not have sex. Which
that's...
I'm guessing, because we're having this conversation about sex, that is not an option for lots of people. So not having sex, or not having the kind of sex where you share body fluids.
Yeah.
So that will protect you against having STIs. The second method is for you to get regularly tested to see if you've got any STIs. You can use the Public Health Wales test and post kits, and there's some kits available here at the Students' Union. So if you're going to be in a monogamous relationship with your partner, is both get tested before you have any kind of sex that shares body fluids, and then get the all clear, and then you won't give each other STIs. But if you're having in an open relationship or there's other partners involved, then that won't work. And then the other method is by using a barrier method, a contraception, and the most effective method is condoms. So that stops the body fluids between people's bodies being shared when you're having oral, vaginal or anal sex, or you're sharing sex toys.
Is it normal to have intense pain while having sex?
No. No. Pain is a signal from your body that something's not okay. So if you're having pain when you're having sex, that needs to be listened to. Now it could be that you or your partner are not aroused enough. Sex is meant to be slippy and your body's meant to be aroused enough to get stretchy enough to have sex. If that's not happening, then taking your time, getting turned on more, using a good lubricant like water-based lube. They have some free lube in the Students' Union. Trying that to see if the pain reduces, but if it's still painful when you have sex, go and see a doctor. Yeah, your body's telling you something important.
Yeah. What if the condom falls off? What do you do then?
Yeah, well, even with perfect use, sometimes a condom will slip off or accidentally break. So while you're having sex, if that happens, is put a new condom on. If your partner's not realised that the condom slipped off or broken, you need to tell them. Do not keep that information to yourself, because if you're having penis in vagina sex with somebody who might get pregnant, they might need to go for emergency contraception. So if there's a risk of pregnancy, you can get emergency contraception from a pharmacy, from a GP or sexual health service like Ysbyty Gwynedd. And if there's a risk of an STI being transmitted, or you've got to worry about that, you can do a test and post sample test and post kit, but you need to wait at least 2 weeks after the sexual contact before you do your before you take any samples, because it's a bit like if I had COVID now and coughed on you, if you did a test straight away it wouldn't show if you had COVID, so you need to wait for a while to see if you have got the infection. And it's the same with STIs, so you just wait a couple of weeks and then do your test and send it off. If you've got to worry about HIV transmission, you need to test at 3 months and then at 6 months. But the sexual health clinic would be able to tell you more information about that if you've got any worries.
Is bleeding post-sex normal?
No. So sometimes people will bleed post-sex because sex can mean you get little tears or abrasions and grazes, and sometimes people bleed a little bit early on in sexual activity, although expecting people to bleed is a bit of a myth. So sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. However, if you regularly bleed or have a lot of bleeding, that can be a sign that something's wrong. So it's about going and getting it seen to. So bleeding post-sex can mean you have an infection such as chlamydia, and it can mean lots of other things as well. So going and getting a doctor's appointment and getting it seen to is best.
Can I get pregnant from pre-cum?
It's quite rare, but it can happen. So pre-cum is another word for pre-ejaculate fluid. So when a penis gets an erection, a little bit of fluid will leak out the end of their penis, because sex is designed to be slippy, and it's not just female bodies that get wet. So People with penises, their penis gets a little bit wet and slippy as well before they have sex. And if there's any live sperm in the urethra, then that could then be in that pre-ejaculate fluid. So it's possible, it is quite rare, but it is possible. So it's always best to put a condom on or use an internal condom before there's any genitals getting together where you can spread that sperm.
What are the normal vulva shapes?
Ooh, there are so many. Like any other parts of your body, they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, but normally what you would see is external labia, like the external lips, then internal labia, which are much smaller. Those can sit inside the outside lips, or they can protrude from the outside lips. Both variations and others are completely normal. And then from front to back, you would see the clitoris surrounded by the clitoral hood, the urethra, it's very hard to spot, and then the vaginal opening. And that's sort of the collection of things inside the vulva, but how they look will be really, really varied, just like penises, really, really varied, all completely normal. Yeah.
What is the point of a dental dam?
What's the point of a dental dam? Well, a dental dam is a square of latex that can be placed over somebody's vulva or somebody's anus if they're receiving oral sex. So, not many people realise, but you can transmit STIs from your genitals to somebody's mouth.
Yep.
So chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis are classics. Oral herpes as well, and genital herpes, warts. So it's just a latex barrier, and you can get non-latex versions as well if you've got a latex allergy that can be placed over the vulva or over the anus if you're engaging in rimming. And you can also use them if somebody's having their period, for example, and somebody doesn't want any period blood in their mouth when they're giving oral sex.
And they come in different flavours.
And they can come in different flavours, yeah. You can get different flavours and you can get unflavoured as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all sorts of varieties.
Yeah, my question is, why are they flavoured?
Oh, why are they flavoured?
Oh.
Well, they don't really taste of anything. So flavoured condoms and flavoured dams, if you went around licking them and licking the different flavours, I know, I've got a varied career. They don't actually taste of anything, but they do smell of different things.
Okay.
And so it's because when people are engaging in oral sex, they put their faces and their noses close to the condom or the dam, and they can smell rubber. And so some people don't like the smell of latex as much. And so it's just to give some variety of the scents that they can have when they're engaging in oral sex. It's worth noting as well, there used to be it used to be thought that you couldn't use flavoured condoms for other kinds of sex. You could only use them for oral sex because they're flavoured. But actually you can use them for vaginal sex or anal sex, doesn't matter. They're just as good as other condoms. They just smell.
Is a one night stand okay?
You're both fine with it? Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's your body, it's your sex life. If the other person is fully consenting and knows that they're in for a one night stand, is not expecting a deep romantic relationship for the rest of their life, then yeah.
How often should one have sex?
I'd say with any activity, as long as it's not hurting you or the person you're doing it with, and it's not interrupting other activities that are good for you, like attending your lectures, then, or going to work, you know, then what is too much sex? It's completely up to the individual.
Ways to not feel awkward.
Ways to not feel awkward. Well, I'm sorry, but sometimes sex is awkward and you're going to feel awkward, but that's you pushing yourself and stretching your comfort zones. That can be good too. Things that can reduce awkwardness, communication, making sure you do stuff with somebody you trust and feel safe with, being in a safe, private place where you're not likely to be interrupted, having enough time to relax, being in control of your environment, putting some music you like on, you know, your lighting, all sorts of stuff like that. All the things you would normally do to feel more comfortable and more relaxed, just bring those into your sex life and they can really help. But yeah, trust, communication, safety are your key things.
Are permanent contraceptions harmful for women?
So, permanent contraceptives or contraceptions can mean different things to different people. So there's a range of different contraception options, some of which are things that last a long time without having to sort of take any action on, but you can reverse so your fertility can come back. And we call those contraceptives long-acting reversible contraceptives. And there's 4 of them. There's the contraceptive implant, there's 2 types of coil, a hormonal coil and a non-hormonal coil, a copper coil, and contraceptive injection. And then, so those could be seen as permanent methods of contraception because you can get like a coil put in and then you can leave it in for up to 8 years, depending on what kind of coil it is. But then you get it removed and your fertility returns. And then there are very permanent methods of contraception, which we call sterilisation. So it involves having your fallopian tubes or your sperm tubes cut and tied back. And those are done with the expectation that you wouldn't have any, you wouldn't conceive in the future, you wouldn't have children in the future. So let's put the permanent methods to one side. The only side effect from those methods is you don't have children. You can still ejaculate if you've had a vasectomy, and you won't go through early menopause or anything if you get your tubes tied, because you're still ovulating. That egg is just not travelling down the tube. So beyond the operation, there's no ongoing side effects. But with other methods of contraception, people often worry about the side effects with using hormonal methods of contraception. Some of those methods you can't use if you have certain health conditions, or if your BMI is very high, or if you're older, or if you're a heavy smoker, for example, or you've got a family risk of stroke and high blood pressure. Some of the methods, hormonal methods of contraception, can slightly increase people's risk of things like breast cancer. But when I say slightly, it's really slightly. However, they can also reduce other risks of other cancers and other long-term health conditions. So it's a bit like a balancing act.
Yeah.
You know, what's going to be the side effects? Have I got any family history that makes using this stuff more dangerous for me? And the person who's prescribing the contraception with you will go through all of that with you. What I'd like to say is contraception is usually taken to help prevent an unwanted pregnancy. The biggest risk to health for people is getting pregnant. It massively increases all risk factors in your life, including the fact that you're probably having a baby before you're ready to. So, so it's not just a big impact on your health, but also on your lifestyle, your finance, your relationships, everything in your life. So people usually think, well, actually the slight increased risk here is outweighed by the benefits of not getting pregnant. So there's all sorts of information on the NHS website about potential risks, but also potential benefits. On the Sexual Health Wales website, there is an online tool that you can use to assess your personal risk with different things. So you can go and access that, and then everybody's individual. Just because you might see on social media there's some risk, remember it's about going to factual good evidence sources of information for information about this.
What are good ways to approach consent?
We've already mentioned, haven't we, things about communication, trust and feeling safe. So those are some of the very basics. With consent, there are some really there's some underlying things about consent. It's not just a case of saying yes or no. So with consent, it's about having capacity to consent. So you need to have a fully working brain in order to be able to say yes. And that means not too drunk, not too high, awake, not being strangled, not being coerced, or threatened, or frightened. So you need a fully working brain that can say yes freely and without make its own decisions. So we have to have that capacity. We also need to know that when we say consent, it's specific. If I'm saying yes to a cup of tea, that doesn't mean that I no longer want to have cups of coffee in the future or whatever. It's just you're saying yes to that one thing, and that's not making assumptions. Just because you say yes to oral sex, it doesn't mean you're having vaginal sex. Just because you say yes to vaginal sex doesn't mean you're saying yes to anal sex. So it's specific. Consent is always reversible. So if you've said yes to something in one moment, you can change your mind at any point and you don't need to give a reason, and your partner has to listen to you. So it's always reversible.
Where should I start with toys?
Ooh, toys. Well, first of all, have a look on some different websites and see what's out there. There's loads and loads of different toys out there. With toys, it's thinking about what function you want the toy to do, because there's toys for all sorts of bits of the body and that do different things. So just think about what you want from the toy, and then not just getting the toy that everybody else has got. You know, it's thinking what you've got. Also, toys can be quite expensive, but they can also be quite inexpensive. So maybe start off with some of the more inexpensive toys, with some of the basic functions, and then experimenting and seeing what you like and what works for you. Usually the websites that sell toys will say it's a good starter model for this sort of thing and the other. I would say go to a reputable toy shop for this sort of stuff, because you want something that's going to be safe for your body, that's well made. And so, you know, stores like the Pleasure Garden, Love Honey, and Summers, all sorts of those places, you can sell them, you can buy them online, but you can also buy toys these days in places like Boots. You know, so.
Or when, like, back aisle of Boots.
Yeah, it's in the wellness aisle.
Yes,
so you can go and buy a nice little toy there and just, you know, experiment.
Or you can spin a wheel outside in mid-one. So.
That's true. Well, all of the SU toys that we give away have come from Love Honey.
Oh, okay, Love Honey are quite good. And I mentioned the Pleasure Garden as well. So if you're somebody that needs an accessible sex toy, maybe you can't hold a vibrator, and you need something that's more sort of hands-free or something you can sit on. Pleasure Garden are very good. They've got a whole accessible sex toys section on their website, and they'll also give really good one-to-one advice if you want a consultation. Yeah, for something more sort of designed for your body. So.
What's the best way to clean sex toys?
Yeah, cleaning sex toys. It's very important to clean the sex toys because they get like bacteria and stuff on them. So, like you clean most of the things in life, you know, warm water and a mild soap. Is a really good place to start. Obviously, if it's plug-in or something, be careful. You just clean the outside, don't just dunk it in a bowl of washing up liquid. But warm water and soap, letting it air dry. You can also buy a special sex toy cleaner. And normally when you buy a sex toy, it's got some detailed instructions about how to clean that particular sex toy on it. Clean it between each use, let it air dry, and then make sure you store it completely dry, not damp, because bacteria can build up on wet toys. Keep all your sex toys separate, and just look at the instructions. Don't use any harsh things like bleach or anything, especially if that's something that could hurt your body.
Is it normal for my contraception to reduce my libido?
Can be. Some hormonal methods of contraception. Some users report that their libido is reduced, although there's no data about that in terms of like looking at evidence-based studies and things. It's more what we tend to find when we're looking at side effects for hormonal contraception. There's the data, there's the evidence-based things, and then there's reported users self-reported stuff as well, and that comes down on the self-reported.
Why is it so embarrassing to not have had sex yet?
Is it embarrassing not to have had sex yet? I think that is a bit of a social stigma about being an adult and not having had sex yet. And it's quite a weird one if you think about it, especially for university students. because, you know, potentially 6 months ago you were at school, and then you're suddenly in this adult world and you're meant to have done everything that adults do, and that sort of stuff can take time. So I think try not to put any social expectations on yourself, do things when you're ready, and when, if you get a partner, when your partner's ready, and there's no should about it at all. People have their first sexual experiences at all different times in their life, and when you have it is the right time for you. In terms of like a population, we as a population are starting to have sex when we're older. Used to be the average age of first sexual experience used to be just below 16, and these days it's more like 17, and that's the average, and that means you're going to get people at either end of the spectrum by a long way. And then some people don't ever have sex, it's just not their thing, and that's completely normal too.
Okay, my last one is, why are condoms so expensive?
Oh, where are you buying them? They don't need to be expensive. You can get them free here at
Yeah.
There's literally buckets of them.
Yeah.
You can also get condoms come in the post for free from Sexual Health Wales. They've got a postal condom scheme. So there's no need to buy condoms. You can get all sorts for free. You can also buy condoms from places like Home Bargains, Tesco's, Morrison's, Asda. You don't have to buy the expensive branded condoms. As long as the condoms have got the quality marks on them, which is a CE mark or a British Standard kite mark, which is like a heart with a squiggly line through it. Those quality marks show that all those condoms are of good quality. So as long as the condoms have got those marks on, then it doesn't matter how much you spend. If you choose to spend £12 on a packet, that's a personal choice, like if you buy an expensive t-shirt. But there are cheaper varieties available and they work just as well.
And with that, that's the end of our Back to Basics section of the Q&A.